So, folks, welcome to episode 9 of Coast to Coast Outdoors. I'm your host, Jeff McNeil, and tonight, as many of you folks would have seen, we have Gary Geddes. We'll be discussing muzzleloader hunting and what are the pros, what are the cons, as well as many other muzzleloader tips, tricks, whatever Gary has up his sleeve. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Gary. Welcome to the show, Gary.
Hey, how you doing, Jeff?
Not bad. I've known you for some time now, and you've been very good. Hold on, here we got a bit of a hiccup with the live feed there. So welcome to Coast, episode 9. Hope everybody has seen it. For some reason, we had a time lag there. So we have Gary Geddes here, and we're going to be talking about muzzle loaders, tips and tricks, and the whole 9 yards. Hey, Gary.
Well, I'll give you whatever information I can. I'm sure not an expert, but I try and make myself knowledgeable with that, muzzleloaders.
Well, that's what we need. You've been how long have you been around the muzzleloader hunting aspect?
Well, probably relatively new. I mean, it's only been since around 2014 for me. We have a muzzleloader Facebook page, and there's some guys that have hunted with them for many years, and going back to just the old ball and wad, and so yeah, maybe about 6 years, anyways. But it's something that I really took off with me, and I really enjoy it.
And you mentioned the Facebook page there, and I'm going to bring that up here on our video there. Just bear with me here. I move that. So it's Nova Scotia muzzleloader hunting. And I'm pretty sure that's the page there. Yeah.
I think so. I might have to put my reading glasses on, but yeah, Nova Scotia muzzleloader hunting. That's correct. Yeah.
Anybody that wishes to join, I know it's a private group there that you have, but if anybody wishes to join, I'm sure they'll be accepted in that. So if they got further questions after tonight's podcast, there's yourself and other knowledgeable folks in the group there that may be able to aid them answering their questions, obviously.
Well, yeah, Jeff, it started off small. It still is relatively small, and I haven't tried to really promote it, but word of mouth, people hear about it, and it's basically for people who either muzzleload or want to learn anything about muzzleloading, and we're actually fairly serious about it, and we'll accept pretty well anybody who's serious. And like I said, it's pretty small now, but we're growing. I think there's 2 more requests again today. Yeah. So
it all takes time to grow, obviously, like Coast to Coast. Well, we started out small, believe it or not, and after a few podcasts, it grew pretty quick. So hopefully this gets you some new members, Gary, as of the podcast tonight, obviously, and go from there. I know a lot of people have viewed the advertisement for having you on here tonight as well. So that's all huge and whatnot. So I guess we can jump right into the grand scheme of things here. And I know I have a lot of photos here of some of your hunts as well that we can touch on throughout there. So for the muzzleloader, when did Nova Scotia add muzzleloaders to the hunting season, Gary?
Boy, I think to the best of my knowledge, I think 2013. Now I could be corrected, but it was either 2012 or 2013. And I didn't jump into it right away. I didn't discover it until a good friend of mine, my hunting buddy, told me about it. And so yeah, it was actually, when it started, and still is, it was added to the crossbow season. And the other thing is that DNR, Department of Lands and Forestry, but DNR at the time decided that they had run through, I think it was a 5-year trial program to see how it would work and make a decision after that whether or not they're going to continue with it. And so it's been more than 5 years, and I'm not sure if they're just going to do it year to year now. I haven't heard, but it's still continuing. It's really growing. You know, to a lot of people's satisfaction. To other people, they're probably not so happy about it, but it is really taken off in Nova Scotia.
And you know what? Some people, as you know, Gary, you've seen me attend some meetings and such over time, and there was some backlash at first, due in part to the muzzle loaders and that, but there's a lot of misconceptions as well. Uh, uh, I guess, long story short, it was to my knowledge that after the trial run, if there was no issues, that it would stick around. So I think we're going to see this in Nova Scotia for many years moving forward. Uh, Whether or not it's if it's moved or reclassified into a different season, that is yet to be determined. But for the time being and status quo, it's staying within the archery season, I believe.
Yeah, as far as I know, I don't. I'm just assuming that it is, and I know there's still some people who don't like it where it's at right now, and I think some of those concerns have been addressed by DNR. Maybe not fully to the satisfaction of everybody, but so yeah, it's in DNR or Department of Lands and Forestry's hands now. And the other thing is, not that this is a reason to keep it, but I guess it is a reason to keep it in a way, is that it provides quite a revenue stream right now in this province with there's a lot of outfitters or shops, hunting, fishing shops that are really buying into the muzzleloader product, and not only selling muzzleloaders, but all the gear that goes with it, the bullets, the ammo, the powders, and then of course Nova Scotia government gets their fingers in the pie too, and they do pretty good off of it. So.
And a lot of the license sales actually goes to general coffers, so that could range from healthcare to road work to anything in between.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, portion of the license sales for the viewers that are from other provinces that are viewing go towards $5.15 for each one of our hunting license goes into the habitat fund as well. That goes towards conservation projects and research. So I know there's been a discrepancy there, Gary, with some people, and different provinces don't have it, believe it or not. Uh, with the muzzle loaders in the season, like I know we had touched on that about when it had started. I know there was uh, there were some misconceptions there with the black powder versus the Pyrodex and the newer black, like you said, the ball and wad, obviously, versus I guess the newer style.
Yeah.
Some guys are going with traditions, 50 cal muzzle motors that are more of what's the word I'm looking for there? It's not ball and wad anymore. It's
Well,
part
the inline, I think, is probably what you're talking about. The inline muzzleloader
yeah,
is
with
a
the
more,
line primer.
yeah, it's a more modern one with the primer and the either the pellets like White Hots or 777 or the Blackhorn, which is definitely a more accurate weapon. People understand that. Um, but just before I touch on that, the positive or a couple of positive things about muzzleloader hunting is that, in fact, one fellow who used to be involved, I think he was a president one time of the federation. His shoulders are pretty well shot. He used to bow and crossbow hunt, and he muzzleloader hunts now. He just finds that it gives him, he's able to do it now instead of trying to use a bow because of his limitations. And somebody might say, well, he can take a rifle and go in general season, but as you get older, some of the older guys in their 70s and maybe even younger than that, but they do enjoy the early season for getting out in the nicer weather. And
It's
so,
warmer, obviously, during that time, so it's easier on our people with arthritis and other
Yeah.
ailments.
Yeah, bad hips, bad shoulders, and everything. And I know some may say that's not a reason, but I know that seems to be. And when I talk to some of the retailers who sell muzzleloaders, some of those people are the older folk that are giving up, not because they don't like bow hunting or crossbow hunting. It's just, they just find it easier on their body. The other big thing that we're seeing is youth are really starting to buy into and be interested in the muzzleloader. And part of the reason is it gives them a longer period of time to do some hunting when they have the odd day off. You know, they go to in high school, they go to school or university, and they're tied up. So this little bit extra time before general season gives them that little bit extra time to get out in the woods and try and hunt for whatever deer. It's I like that because the more and more youth that we get coming on, the better it's going to be because it seems that hunting and the older folks is becoming more of a dying breed, and we need more and more youth taking it.
You need a lot more youth to carry on the outdoor heritage. Obviously, here it's one of them situations
Exactly.
where it's I don't want to say it's a dying breed, but the age demographic for the most part, we have fewer and fewer children picking up the I guess the heritage, not so much a sport, but the heritage that translates back as far as the fur trade days. So it's something there that a lot of people that have knowledge of, and it's just trying to get the younger generations to pick it up. And if you can get a young generation uh, like what you're doing with the muzzle loaders, it's huge. Uh,
Yeah,
it's,
yeah.
it's a
And we've
very
got some good groups out there that like think of the Hants West Wildlife Association, the turkey guys, the women that hunt. Some of these groups out there are really doing their best to bring more and more youth in. And I don't know. I just find it's just another more of an opportunity. And like I say, some may not agree with that, but I think it's positive. And dying breed, I mean the sport, not the people. The sport is becoming more and more of a dying breed because as you know, the youth are coming up, and not a lot of them are that involved in hunting and fishing like you know years ago.
the problem there is, and you know what, Gary, I learned this a long time ago. Uh, just doing projects there with kids, and that there was some issues there where people say, "Oh, the problem is kids with their Xboxes or their gaming consoles, or heaven forbid, these cell phones." Right?
Yeah.
Uh, Now, the thing that I find with that is that is accurate to an extent, but sometimes, like we've had children there at events and that say, "Hey, guess what? The children, like you got children come up, and sometimes they say the darndest things. They say, well, we'd like to get involved with hunting and that. What you guys did here, showing us about fur harvesting or target shooting a BB gun or a 22 for that matter. Uh, we'd like to get involved, but mommy's too busy on the computer doing work stuff, and daddy's too busy on the gaming console. So it's almost like a role reversal here. Where a lot of people are so quick to judge the kids, but if the parents don't have the time to put in, it's not always the kids' fault that they can't get involved. And I'm not trying to put the blame on anybody, obviously, but if a child I find is expressing interest, uh,
Hmm.
hey, it let them see if they like it or don't like it, obviously, and go from there. There's many, like you said, groups around that mentor children as well, and they they're always willing to show them, obviously, especially muzzle loaders or anything like that. So you, you give us a wealth of information there and groups that are doing mentoring, obviously, that could help in those regards, Gary. I know here we've got a comment here, and sorry there if anybody had seen me there playing with my phone there. Facebook had alerted me there that they're having a network issue there with comments being displayed, but it doesn't seem like we're having that issue here right now because I'm just going to bring it up here now. I believe Roger has chimed in there. Roger Lewis, he was on episode 8. good chat, gents. So viewers, you can comment. Feel free to ask questions to either myself or Gary, and we'll try to answer them as we move along. Obviously. So, Gary, when Nova Scotia did add the muzzle loaders, what was the reaction from a majority of the hunters in the province to this new added weapon for harvesting in the province? What did you take from that when it was added? The reaction from hunters in the province.
Well, excuse me. I don't know. That's a good question. I can't be a judge of what the hunters in Nova Scotia really thought, other than that every year since 2013, it's been growing. I know that there has been a couple. It's no secret, a couple of groups who have not wanted the muzzleloader in the season that's in now with the crossbows. I talked to the crossbow people, the association, a couple of 3 years back, and they were fully on board. They supported it. Unfortunately, I don't believe there's a crossbow association anymore. That's now defunct, as far as I know. But I think the reason I know why is I've got a crossbow and I couldn't join because you can't. It doesn't seem like the organization is there. But a few years ago it was, and I talked to them and they had no issue. But as far as general hunters, well, I can't really answer that other than I talk to vendors out there and I look at the stats, and it's a large growing segment of the hunting system around here now. You'll go down to different places and look at their inventory, and at one time they used to have to order them in. Now you can look at the shelf and you can see different brands and different models of those brands, and the ammo and the supplies that go with it. They carry quite a bit. Unfortunately, because of this pandemic now, I think a lot of them are getting caught with inventory right now, but hopefully that changes. I guess, yeah, in a roundabout way, I don't really know other than that, from talking to vendors and talking and looking at stats, it's quite a growing, it's a growing way to hunt. And, but there has been opposition. I think there probably still is some opposition to have that muzzleloader in the season it's in now. So, I mean, the only thing we can do is try the best to answer it. I mean, I did talk to DNR, and actually they put out a report back in 2017 that said 3 to 6% of the deer now this is their facts, figures, 3 to 6% of the deer taken in the early seasons with the muzzleloader.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I think other people have said there's their total figures around 20 or 22, 23% taken with a muzzleloader. So it doesn't take a genius to figure out that it's being taken in the general season. So, if people, and if they still do really have a problem possibly with the muzzleloader, maybe they might want to look at part of the general season, no muzzleloader. Maybe the whole season. That's not for me to say.
Mm-hmm.
Because if that's where the abuse, so-called abuse, and you know what, I'm not going to lie, I think there is abuse in the general season. I don't know for sure. I don't know somebody, but it just makes sense, and I've heard.
Yeah, that's in what I won't elaborate into too much detail on that aspect, but the abuse would be the fact that there was 2 tags issued, and I know that has come up there. That muzzle loaders harvest a lot more deer than any other, like archery or crossbow or whatnot. But the numbers, the last time I've seen the numbers through at that time, it would have been then DNR. It was like 404 deer harvested in a season due to muzzle loaders. So the numbers were debunked at that point in time because I know resolutions were coming there saying, oh no, they're taking too many deer. But that seems to be the way it rolls with every new opportunity to hunt that comes forward, obviously. And point blank, the internal fighting over what weapon is what should be in what season. Sit back and enjoy, because we're fortunate in this province to have it like crossbow and muzzle loaders. some jurisdictions don't have that opportunity, unfortunately.
No, and I think your figure 400 and some odd, I think, Jeff, is probably the ones that were taken in early season, because I know that the figure is higher over a period of the whole season. And I almost forgot about this, but I attended two of the AGMs at the Federation back in 16 and 17, I think it was. And the first year I was there, this guy got up as speaker and started to talk, and I didn't know who he was, other than he said he was a resourceful redneck. And it ended up being Mike Holland, who's now the minister of whatever resources in New Brunswick, or I don't know what the full title is, but
natural resources and energy development.
Yeah, he got up and he spoke at the to the group there over lunch, and I was just the whole time I was just spellbound. I never heard a guy speak the way he did, and his whole premise basically was we have enough people on the outside trying to take a chunk of our season away, of our hunting heritage away. We don't need to have pockets within us. Now, that's not to say we shouldn't have disagreements and sit down and talk about it. But it was an excellent. I wish I could probably get a copy of that sometime. It was a great talk. And now I found out who he was. I didn't know who he was. This guy gets and speaks, and Anyways, sorry.
Well, you know what? I remember that like it was yesterday. It was pretty vivid, and he had everybody standing on the edge of their seats with that speech, and it opened up a lot of eyes. And you know what? It's great to see the position he's in New Brunswick, to be quite honest, and how far he's brought them along in New Brunswick. I know many other jurisdictions and provinces are just wishing they had a minister in their ministry for like him. But anyway, unless you can get a resourceful hunting individual out there, it's to the point there where we're going to hit these hurdles no matter what we do or try. It seems like here in Nova Scotia we got people at the helm that have never. I'll use the analogy of never run a ship before. So that's what we're at. We've got a lot of them that are running the show that may not have actually hunted a day in their life. But my personal opinion is you need boots on the ground in order to get things to move forward in offices, and that seems to be the downfall for some things here, because we let so much, Gary, for new monies into this province go out the door to other provinces and jurisdictions, just because we're behind the times, unfortunately. And the few things we did get right, we got MuzzleLoader and we've got crossbow, obviously, but the opportunity to expand is there. But as you referenced there, based on Mike's comments, where we had a lot of outside individuals there that are trying to hurdle the hunting heritage, which is unfortunate. And we got to do everything we can to move things along as we can. How we do it, it's work in collaboration, I guess.
I must admit, for the first couple of years, I was pretty defensive over this, and I learned pretty quick that I had to get that out of my head, because doesn't matter if I'm right or wrong. You can only present what you have, and sure, I'm wrong many times, and like most people. But now my attitude is I try and be as positive as I can. Try and promote any kind of hunting, and especially I really like what some of the groups are doing with the youth. And but yeah, I'm over that defensive mode where I try to defend something. Doesn't seem to work well that way. But
no,
anyway, sorry, but you just asked a question earlier about the muzzle loaders and the ammo and that. Do you want me to answer that, or do it later as far as what the
no, that was leading into the next one here that I brought up on the screen, actually, Gary. I'm just seeing here if it's popping up here, obviously. And what types of muzzies, powder, bullets do hunters use in the muzzle loaders?
Well, there's it's be good to have a real good knowledgeable vendor here now, but I try and do a lot of research myself too, and so I'm hoping that I don't say anything that's not accurate. But you do have some options out there. The number one option people are going to now, instead of the old ball and the wad, they are definitely going to the inline muzzleloader, which is more accurate. People talk about reaching out to 200 yards and shooting deer. I don't travel in any circles with anybody who does that. Most people I know, and the people I communicate even with on the Facebook site, you're reaching out 50 or 60 yards, and I mean, the number of reasons why, because your primer's got to be kept dry, gets a little damp, you're just going to get a poof. You've got to make sure if you're using Blackhorn 209 that you're using the right type of primer and you're using the right type of bullet and you're consistent. So if you're sighted it's a very fussy weapon, even inline one. So if you're sighting it in at a range, whatever you're using, you should try and use that while you're hunting, because just a change from a 145 or sorry, 245 grain to a 295 or a 300 is going to make a bit of a difference. And if you use there's white hots, the pellets. Most people use pellets, from what I understand. Or the other kind is the Hodgkins 777, and usually 2 pellets are 50 grain each. And I did have, I don't know, I've got the old the Hodgkin one here, the 777. I don't have any of the white hots. I don't know if I can show. I mean, I just got a little pipe cleaner. So 2 of those go in, and then you seat your bullet down in on top of this. And I soon switched after a year from these to Blackhorn 209, the powder. I find it's a heck of a lot better after you want to shoot a few rounds. You don't have near the cleaning that you have to do with these or the white hots. Now, the white hots are exactly the same size. They're just white. There's some people prefer the white hots over the 777.
Now, now the 777, Gary. Now I'm going to throw something out here, and some viewers are probably going to give me some flack for it. I know when I first got into the muzzle loaders way back in the day, we were at the provincial range there, and my buddies that were with me were like astonished. They're like, "That's a 50 cal, right?" But neither one of us knew exactly how many pellets to put in, or and I'm using 777 obviously, and
Right.
anyway, I'll tell you, to shoot 100 yards with it, that's with the scope and whatnot dialed in, was nothing. But I learned a valuable lesson, and I don't encourage anybody to try that. But I had 3 777 pellets in,
Yeah.
and I'm telling you, I thought it was going to tear the shoulder right off me.
Yeah.
Shot it. And then I realized after the fact that we shouldn't have put three fired or 777 pellets in it, obviously, and it shoots just as accurate with the 2.
Probably more accurate with the 2 than the 3, which you got 150 grain with the 3. Yeah, and yeah, you're right, and that's it would you would feel it, and most pretty well everybody I know who deer hunts with those 777 or the white hots use 2 of them for deer. But then you get all kinds of variation of bullets. I mean, I use the Sabos, which is just like a crushed rib. I got one here. It's just a crushed rib one, and you seat the. I got the Hornady hollow point. You just set that in. I just find that it's with my rifle and with the Blackhorn and the primer that I use, that this seems to give me the best accuracy. Now you can go online. Some people will swear by these. You go online, somebody else will swear by other ones. I've got there's other types that are. I got a friend. These burned.
Out of
So
curiosity, if you could just bring it a little closer to the camera for the viewers to see the difference.
well,
Now these are full copper jacket, or are they lead
they're
copper with
copper.
lead?
Yeah, they're lead. They're lead in there, yeah. But you can get the copper ones. Barnes has copper. Now that's the. Oh, wait a minute. Now there I am.
There we go.
That's. I got to get used to this screen. So there's the actual bullet I use, and this is a sabot, and it just goes. It sets in there. So you can buy them separate. I buy them in bulk sometime, and it's cheaper. And then there's these ones, the Barnes. But I'll tell you, the guy, and I don't know if he's listening here or not, but the guy, and I'll give him a shout out. I don't know how many people might know him. This BJ Nicholson from Sackville. He's the expert when it comes to bullets. He buys hordes of them. He does an awful lot of target practicing, and he tries different grains and different everything you can think of when it comes to the ammo for the muzzleloaders. And I've learned a lot from him, just from his use of them. So this is what I use here. So this is the powder. So I measure this out of my a big jar, and this is the Blackhorn. And I usually run about 90 grains in here, and some people run 100. Well, two of these 777s. There it is. There we go. Make 100, but I usually run about 90, sometimes 80 here because it seems to work well for me. So there's all kinds of options, and it's just a learning experience all the time. And again, you hear the old adage, keep your powder dry. It's so true. And with muzzleloaders, they're so finicky, and even the inline ones. So
and it's true. I've seen when it gets wet, it doesn't function the way it should, obviously, and it's kind of a thing. A lot of people ask Gary about discharge, like they're leaving the woods, and this is a question there that I've always had, but I've always just fired the round into a tree or whatever, right? That's been close at the base of the tree, obviously, to clear it out, because I don't like the removal aspect. A lot of guys are nervous around the removal of their bullet, obviously. Although the primer is out, some guys still find it a little, I guess, intimidating, to say the least, with the removal of the sabot and the bullet, obviously, when it's in there, because they got the powder in there, and it just, I don't know, the older crowd seems to be more nervous than anybody around that stuff, and rightfully so. They're exercising extreme caution, I guess. Any tips or tricks on what they should do there?
Well, as far as removal, I guess it all depends on the models. Now, I've got a CVA, and I upgraded from the Wolf, which is just the black barrel. And my advice is, if you're going to buy a CVA, there's the Optima and the Acura. Then, even though the Wolf is the entry level one, try and find a few $100s more and go up to the Optima or the Acura, because you're not going to have the issues you will with the barrel of the Wolf. It can corrode much easier. It won't if you take a really good care of it, but it's not like a barrel of your 30-06 or something. It really, the humidity and everything really, really affects it. So, but I can talk about the CVAs. I mean, they have the removable breech plug. So at the end of the day, you can take the primer out, and then you're not able to fire it. But if you want to, and if my theory is, or thinking is, if it's really damp and really wet, and you think you might have got something wet in your barrel, then take out your powder or your white hots in your bullet. And it's with the CVA, it's as simple as just breaking it open. And once you've got the breech plug out, you take the push rod and you push it right down from the top, from the muzzle, right down through, and out comes your pellets and your bullet. So you don't have to shoot it out. And so I mean, the older style, I think, you might, and I'm not sure, others who have more knowledge on the older styles, you might have had to try and fire it out. I'm not sure, but I know it's fairly straightforward with the CVAs. Now, there's also the Thompson Center, Traditions, Savage. There's different models, and I'm sure they all have their pluses and minuses. It's like anything. You'll go online, and some report will say the Knight's the best muzzleloader out there. And another will say the CVA Acura is, and it just depends on, they're all good, and it depends on, what you get used to. But I just want to show one more little quick thing, and especially for the CVA, it's very important to clean out, I find, the firing channel from time to time, because if you take a shot, it can get a little bit clogged up with powder or residue. And I just went and bought a little package of these torch tips, tip cleaners for torches.
Okay.
At Princess Auto, and you just see those, and you can find the right size diameter one, and it goes right into the firing channel, and you can clean it right out.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so it's anybody who has a CVA, I think you should do that from time to time. You can look up through the plug, and you can see whether or not there's anything in there. And then once you run this through, you can see all kinds of daylight. So
Perfect.
anyway, it's just a little tip, but
helpful for myself and many others that are own muzzle loaders, obviously.
Yeah.
So let's see here. While we were talking there, and you were showing the rounds for the Muzzy, I realized I had a photo there, Gary, of ones that have been spent with the lead in that, and ones that are copper and whatnot. I know that's a debate there for another day, obviously, but my personal preference is the copper, obviously, and everybody's got a personal preference, obviously, with a lot of different things.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention that, because I will, when we bring up the photos, I will bring up that photo, obviously, and just put it out there for people to see. I'm going to recap here, Gary, just on the fact there that we do have a Facebook page, Nova Scotia MuzzleLoader Hunters. It's on Facebook. It is a private group, but anybody is welcome to join and send a request to join. So check them out. Wealth of information there for those interested. Next question we've got here is
just one quick thing on that, Jeff. Even though we don't have a real large group, there have been people who have been a little bit confused or really needing some more information on a type of a bullet or a powder or whatever, and they'll throw that on that Facebook group site. And there's at least one or two guys that, when it comes to the ammo and the types of ammo to use and everything else, that really definitely have a lot more knowledge on that than I have, and they'll just throw out some good information. So the main reason that's created is just it's an information site for sharing information. It's for asking questions, and it's for sharing photos or any pictures that are of good taste. So
yeah, no, that's great, and I'm sure many people that are interested in muzzle loaders will check it out. Obviously, next question here. Do most Nova Scotia hunting vendors carry muzzle loaders and ammunition for said weapon?
yeah, I find that most of them do now, and my only gauge on that is that other than just last March when that outdoor show got canceled, any other one that I've been to, and I've been to all of them for the last number of years, you've seen the progression of the different vendors that come to the show that are carrying more and more muzzleloader options. And now there are other ones that don't even come to the show that carry muzzleloaders options too. And some have got out of it. Now I don't think Cabela's were there this year, maybe last year, but they carry muzzleloaders. They carry supplies too. Nanchucks, Young Guns in Porter's Lake. I buy personally, and it's not an advertisement for him, but I buy all my supplies basically at Young Guns because I priced out his stuff compared to other places, and the inventory out down there is just second to none. Now, that's of the places that I've been to. Now, I haven't been to some places, maybe up in Leaves and Limbs in Antigonish, some places maybe down the South Shore, but
Leaves and Limbs is pretty good. If he doesn't have it, he'll get it within a day or two, for the most
right,
part. So,
yeah,
it's I know here in outside of Leaves and Limbs area, obviously, you've got the Waikagama Home Hardware. They what they don't have, they'll get within a day,
right,
and for the most part, we've got like Chris King, and then we've got a few other small little guys there. There's one in Ingonish there, but you got a call ahead, and I'm not sure what his inventory is like anymore and whatnot. The deck, there's another spot in the deck, but for the most part, like we can't get any muzzleloader stuff at Walmart Canada
hmm,
in Cape Breton. Uh, Canadian Tire has recently just started bringing in stuff, but again, they're so limited on stuff. Like, geez, they just for Sabos, they ask for a PAL card, which
yeah, yeah,
which mind blows me and
yeah.
whatnot. Even for the Pyro or the 777 pellets, right? They ask for that, and it kind of it's amusing, but you know what? Hey, we it's there. Not even waste. It's a waste of time to argue over stuff like that. But they are slowly bringing in more inventory, but it's not near as big as Cabela's, obviously, for inventory, where you can pick and choose what you
Well,
want.
I even find now most Cabela's may be quite different. In fact, I know I've been down to different Cabela's in the States, but the one here, you've got to basically they've got to order stuff for you. They don't have like I've been in there looking for the Blackhorn 209, and maybe it's just the time I was in, and I was looking around, and I haven't seen a lot. But I think that's with a lot of suppliers now. Maybe they're not carrying it. But the thing I look to more than anything, Jeff, is not whether or not I can get the inventory there or not. That is important. But if you take Canadian Tire in some of those places, you don't get the knowledge. It's no slight on them that you've got part-time employees working there, and they don't understand what the difference is between some of these different options of ammo and what maybe a 777 compared to white hots are. So you pay for knowledge too. That's
And
the
that's a fact.
yeah.
Uh, so yeah, so I guess we kind of touched on the hunting vendors. Some spots, like you said, it's easier than others to get stuff. Obviously, I'm not sure how it is down in Yarmouth County way, South Shore for ammo down that way. I'm sure they got to pretty much come more centralized. I'm not 100% familiar with that area to be knowledgeable enough to know, but hopefully they too got access to vendors down there that can supply them. Uh, Question, Gary. Next on the question list, if you got, unless you got anything else you want to add to that, obviously.
No, no, I'm good. I think that you're right. It's not like it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago. Vendors were pretty leery as to whether or not to bring much inventory in. But I think pretty well, I think probably most places out there um, that supply anything to do with firearms and ammo would carry Muzzy supplies and the Muzzy rifles.
I see here we've got a viewer. We got Roger Lewis here. What kind of 100-yard group can you expect with a lower to mid-level muzzle?
Uh, well, a lower to mid-level Muzzy, you can probably, depending on it, it all depends a lot on the ammo and the powder or the white hots. I guess what I'm looking for is pellets or the powder along with the ammo you use, and all combination. A lower end or a mid-size, mid-grade cost of a Muzzy could get you pretty well the same kind of grouping as an expensive one. So, for instance, the Wolf, which is a very low-end CVA, should be able to pretty well get you the same kind of grouping as the Acura. The only thing is that, like I say, it's not a really good quality muzzleloader when it comes. You've got to take a look. It's good quality, but you've really got to take care of it, and you've got to make sure it's well oiled, the barrel, the inside. You got butter on it where you need to, and you've got the anti-seize lubricant and everything on the breech plugs. More so than if you've got a Acura, which is all pretty well the Baroga barrel, which is real top of the line one. But you can get if you're sighting it in for 100 yards, and if you use consistently and get used to a certain primer and a pellet or powder or a bullet, you could probably get consistently. Or you could probably I don't know, you could probably get 4-inch groups, 3-inch groups. I mean, you can get it even tighter. It all depends on what you're using for rest and everything else. So you can get it pretty tight. So there's no doubt that it'll reach out to 100 yards. And but the thing is even though you get it pretty tight, some people say that I've heard a guy, and I challenged him, who said that he used to shoot out in Saskatchewan a muzzleloader at 220 yards and got 4-inch groups without a scope. Well, right away I pictured a football field and how far 2 football fields were without a scope, and forget the fact that it's a muzzleloader, any kind of rifle. And I know if you've got it sighted in for 100 yards, what that next 100 yards with a muzzy bullet, how far it will drop. And I just find that hard to believe. Now, maybe he's a sharpshooter. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that, but
I would have to see firsthand that in order to believe it, to be quite frank.
Oh, I'd have to see it. I would buy the person. I don't know what I'd buy him. I wouldn't buy him a drink because I wouldn't know what kind of drink to buy him. But I'd definitely buy him a coffee. But you never say never. But boy, I'll tell you, they're pretty finicky. You've got to make. And oh yeah, so I asked what kind of ammo were you using? Were you using white hots or powder? He said, I don't remember. Well, most people who are even bow hunters who are serious about it, and they're trying to get certain groupings, I think they know what kind of arrowhead and arrows they're using, and I know what kind of special bullet I'm using when I'm sighting in my 7mm Remington mag, moose hunting. But getting back to Roger's question, yeah, you could expect a pretty good group within 100 yards. Again, I don't shoot out to 100 yards. I always sight mine in 50 to 60 yards. That's it. No further, because that's where I hunt. And most people I know, my buddy I hunt with, and others I've talked to, I won't mention any other names right now, but I do know of some that shoot about the same, 50, 60 yards out. 100 you could do it, but there could be some complications. And then the other thing, if you're shooting at a deer at 100 yards, you better make sure you hit it good and clean in the vital, because it's not like you're going to just throw another bullet up into the chamber with it, like a lever action or a bolt action or whatever. It's going to take you, that thing's going to be wounded if it's wounded. And, I personally, I don't recommend shooting out that far. I know people have said, well, you're crazy. I can hit it out to 100 yards. Well, good. I just don't recommend it, just because if you do just wound it, it's going to take you a while to
track it.
To get another, by the time you get the white hots in or the powder and the bullet and you ram it in and and then,
you're not using just a rifle where it's just pull the bolt back or pull the trigger because it's a semi in the next, right? So there's work involved there, and
it's time involved.
It's time, and time is normally of the essence, obviously, when you're hunting and harvesting. So I guess when it comes to that, be ethical and make your first shot count like normal. That would be the hindsight of that, I guess.
Definitely, yeah.
Just trying to look here. Here with me. I know I had another question here. Unless Roger has any others. I know we touched on the mentoring and that, and you mentioned a number of organizations organizations that do that in the province here, obviously. Uh, I'll ask this question before we move on to the photos and get some stories, Gary. Uh, how has the COVID affected your plans for hunting thus far, or fishing for that matter?
Sorry, I didn't catch the question, Jeff.
How has the COVID-19 affected the like your anticipated hunts for the fall, or have you
Oh,
heard anything on that? Or
no, I know as much as anybody probably knows as far as what's going to happen this fall. The It's all up in the air again, of course. I guess I use this word because I think I've used it to you instead of using the words I'd like to use. It's probably not politically correct. I call them slow adults. You know, if we didn't have so many slow adults and we just learned to take this right, this whole thing that's going on now with this virus, then we'll be back into hunting, no problem. And I just, and it looks like things are, boy, I don't want to be too optimistic, but I'm getting optimistic here in Nova Scotia. Things are going better. Newfoundland's looking good, PEI, New Brunswick. If we could just close the border from Quebec over, we may be fine. But yeah, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen there? I'm hoping, because I have a moose trip planned for Newfoundland this year, and I finally got one during the week of the rut, which I'm pretty excited about.
and since we're touching on Newfoundland and hunts and that, I know you're an avid moose hunter over in Newfoundland. You go. I know when we did one podcast there, I think it was with Barry Fordham in Newfoundland, or Mike Holland. It was one of them podcasts there where you chimed in and said you're spending your son's inheritance, I guess,
Yeah.
going to the moose hunts. So, but
Yeah.
I'll bring up some photos there, Gary, and we can touch on them a bit. Obviously, here's you with one of your white-tailed deer. What's the story
Yeah.
behind that?
Well, you said you wanted a few pictures. The only reason I threw that picture in is that was a few years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and it was November 9th. I remember because I'd had a late moose hunt over in Newfoundland. And I came back and early in the morning, this 8-point guy walked out, and I had my 300 lever action then. Because I'd put away my Muzzy after I came back, and I said, I'm not going to get all the gear out and the powders. And so I grabbed the 300, and I managed to, just before he looked at me, I was back in behind me. There's an old trail going into the woods. I don't hunt the field at all. And I was back in the woods, and he walked out, and I guess he's about 60, 70 yards away, and I got him. But I guess the reason I showed him is, I actually dragged them out of the woods down the trail back up in that top of that field. And there's a couple other fields down below me. And it was fairly dry. So I did something stupid. I drove my truck along the lower fields, which were fine. But I had to go through another swale of woods, an old trail, to get to this little field. And so I got up there with my truck, managed to get there. And this guy, I don't understand these guys who say they can just grab any deer and throw it in their shoulders and away they go, because
It doesn't work that way.
boy, after I had him gutted, and he's on the back of the truck there now, but just ahead of that there's a burn, and it runs all up along the top to the tree line, and it's a hill. And I said, man, that's perfect. I'll drive the truck up over the top of the burn, and then when I come down the other side, the tailgate will be level. And I thought, perfect. So I did it. Well, when I got up to the top, this crazy Dodge Ram I had, they've got, anybody who have them, they have these the side steps of the long ones, and they hang down lower than the body of the truck. And didn't they get hung up on this burn? I couldn't go forward or backwards. I couldn't go anywhere. And I tried digging under. There's no way. It was stuck there solid. And anyways, I guess I'm poking fun at myself here too, that I was, in hindsight, it was stupid to do, but I called my buddy, and he came out and went down and got the tractor out of the building down below and came up with the tractor, and he had a good laugh, and he took a picture of me with it. But yeah, it's I kind of wish I'd got that mounted, but it's a nice and for November 9th buck, that was one of the better tasting ones too. So
Oh, geez, it's a nice one. If you ever need any taxidermists, let me know. I've got 2 or 3 good ones there that are always up to the task.
yeah.
We've Here's one here with your moose, obviously.
Yeah, there's a couple of pictures there. There's that one, and then there should be another one of that. But that's a bull moose. That was the nicest bull moose that I shot. And again, I guess you're into the hunt so much, you get back, you don't even think. And I never even thought of getting. I did bring the antlers back, but I should have got it mounted. Yeah, they put it in a big one of those big plastic bins, and it goes on the back of an Argo, and out you go with it. But that was a beautiful moose. It was a dark moose too. And the thing about that one though, and that was about 3 years ago, maybe 4 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
It was a Sunday, and this guy I'd never met before was going to be my guide. We were in Area 11, so anybody who knows about Area 11, we're way back in Area 11 on a little camp on a pond. And this guy I'd never met before was going to be my guide, and it was just sometime in the afternoon. And he said, "Are you bored?" And I said, "Yep." He said, "So am I. Let's go scouting around." So we walked up the road a couple miles, and just ready to turn around, you looked way up on the side of I call it a mountain, but it's a big hill, and looked up. He said, "I think there's a couple moose up there." So we put the glasses on, and two big ones. There was a big bull and a cow. He said, "We're going to come back tomorrow morning and get those, or get one." And I said, "Really?" "Yep." So they got up in the morning, and we started walking back there, and the thing about this guy, he's about 51, little guy, a little short, and he smoked like crazy. He put a cigarette, and he had another one, and but he was like a jackrabbit. I couldn't believe it. I'm in pretty good shape, and I'm falling down through this mountain again, down the hill and around a corner, and you look to the right, and there's a big pond in there in the marsh, and then you're coming up the other side. I'm going like this, and I've got my heavy boots on, high boots. And so finally, anyways, we get, I don't know, it might have been about we might have been walking for 15 or 20 minutes in amongst this hill. And all of a sudden he stopped, he put his hand up and he pointed over to the right, and I looked. And here was that bull. And he was, we found out later, he was 135 yards away. And but I couldn't get a shot at him. So he said, "You got to wait." And it's funny, this guy wasn't out of breath. He was in great shape. And I'm like this. He said, "Get your rifle up." And I didn't have a shooting stick. And I had my arms up, and they were just shaking. I'm going, and I couldn't even get breath. I was so beat. So finally, after a bit, it turned enough that I could get a shot at it. And but it taught me a big lesson, that hunt. That's why I put that guy in there, is don't underestimate some of those guides over there as far as the shape they're in. This guy was he's incredible. So
That's I find it amusing because sometimes it's like, don't judge the book by the cover, right? And that's how it is with some guides. It's surprising how quick they can put you on a moose if you get a good enough guide.
yeah.
But that is a nice moose. Is that taken, Gary, by muzzleloader or rifle?
No. I was going to take my muzzleloader over 2 years ago, and I didn't. The guy there said that I've went to about 4 or 5 different camps. A couple of them have been to it a couple of times, anyways. And this new camp, the guy said, "You're looking at sometimes 300-yard shots." So I had sighted my rifle in. I was perfect at 300 yards. I think it was I forget what it was, based on my 162 grain bullet I had. I was fine for 300 dead center. And so sure enough, when I did get to shoot at that place, it was about 315 yards away. So I wasn't going to take the Muzzy, although this year I really think I might, because again, I'm going during the rut, which they tell me is you got a lot better chance of getting a close shot at a moose, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Interesting. Let's see here. We've we've got this one here, which shows a lot of what we talked about earlier, Gary, and in a better pretense actually than what we had done there. So I see we've got the cleaning solvents. Obviously, I'll just touch on this because I should have actually brought it up while we were
Yeah.
discussing it, obviously, but. Everything you were talking about there, the 209 primers, the black powder, the
Yeah.
scorpions. As you can see there, that comes with sabos and
Yeah.
everything is a kit. Uh, the cleaning, all that is kind of what you would need, or not kind of. That is what you would need for for muzzleloader hunting. I threw this one here up. I know you sent it. Has nothing to do with the topic, but I thought it was a nice looking striped bass, so I figured we'd include that and show how much of an avid outdoorsman you are.
Yeah, just a 2 minute thing on that. That's first and only striper I caught, and I didn't know anything about stripers. And I had 12-pound test line, and I went up and I hooked into this guy. I got him, and nowhere to lie. It took me almost half an hour to bring him in. I'm running all up and down the riverbank trying to play him out, and everybody's there's got like 25-pound or more test line. I'm thinking, and now I know why. I've definitely got larger line now. And it took about a half an hour and fine. Everybody was really good. They kept moving back, and I'm running up and down until finally some young fellow came along with a large net. I got him close enough. He got him in.
Wow, beautiful.
Yeah.
I guess you're using the braid line now, are you? Are you still using?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I'm using that now. I'm not going to get into this 12-pound running up and down the riverbank business.
That was off the first moose we see, I guess, is it? Gary?
That was off that. Yeah, that's that 15-point bull. That one. Yeah.
What a rack that is! It would have made a beautiful mount.
It would have, but next one, I'm hoping if I get a decent one this year, I'll definitely get it. I'll definitely get a taxidermist to do it up.
Yeah, we've got this one here. This one here looks to be a cow moose from judging. I like how it looks like it's sitting up and just out for a joyride in the Argo, obviously. But again, I'm assuming that was a rifle hunt, not a muzzy.
No, that's a rifle hunt. I haven't done the muzzy yet. I'm going to do it.
Okay.
I hope to this year, but yeah, no, this guy, I actually saw him on the edge of the woods, and I hit him over the head with a bat, and he got in. No, just joking. He, she sat up there real nice, but this is one where close to area 11, area 8, and we spotted this one a couple of miles away, and we didn't know what it was. Is that far away? There's two of them. And when we got closer, we could tell it was a big cow, and there's another cow. And the guy said, "What do you want to do?" And he said, "It's a big cow." I said, "Okay, let's see what we can do." And then we got to 1,000 yards away, and she watched us. She could see us. We're on the Argo, so we jumped off, and he said, "We're going to have to sneak through some woods, see how close we can get." And that's when we managed to get to about 315 yards away. And he said, "She's looking right at us right now. We're not going to get any closer." And so I did have my shooting stick then, and I took her. And that's the guy who said, "Make sure you're sighted in for 300 yards." So some of the country over there, people who have been over there, and the people who know it a lot, know that some areas you definitely longer shots. Other areas are, not near as long. So.
Now you mentioned shooting stick. Is that the mono one, just a straight up and down mono stick, or do you have the tripod legs?
I got the bipod, so I got the 2 legs. I probably should have got the 3-legged one, but the 2-legged one worked fine. It's funny, when I shot that moose, the owner, that's the owner there, and his guide and a young guy from Ontario were behind me. He had got his bull the day before, the young guy, so they came out and they're right there, and the guy behind me yelled when I shot and hit it. It just stood there, and he said, "You got that?" And I said, "I'm pretty sure I hit. I should have hit." He said, "Oh no," he said, "She doesn't even know she's hit. She doesn't know she's dying." And I've heard that before. People say that about moose. And then the owner said, "You better hit her again." And so I did. I took another shot, and then she's at the top of a hill crest, and then she went on the other side. And I said, I wonder if we lost her, if I didn't get her. And we went up there, and yeah, she was dead. But it was funny when the guide said she's dead or dying. She doesn't even know it. And she's just kind of just standing there. But yeah.
It's not too often you hear that, Gary. With normally most shots on moose, they're down, right?
Yeah.
Now this one here, if I can zoom in on it, is you after what one's this? This can't be the 15 pointer by the looks of
No.
it.
The only reason I put that in, there's a couple of pictures that go with that. That's my buddy there that I hunt and fish with. That was our first moose hunt to Newfoundland in 2010, and
wow.
yeah, first time we went moose. The first time I actually shot a moose. I've been on moose hunts with my father out west, but I hadn't pulled the trigger, and so I'd shot my cow before that, and actually it was the biggest cow I've shot was that year, the first year, and it was bigger than the bulls that were coming in. She was big. But finally on Wednesday, Ray got a good opportunity, and his guy got him down onto a nice bull. I think it was about an 8-point bull, but it was a nice bull. And that was around the middle 19th or 20th of October. And I'm not sure what we're looking up at, but maybe waiting for help to come or another rig. Yeah, so that's his nice little bull.
He's all from the same outfitter, Gary. Do you use the same outfitter all the time, or do you switch
He's
up? Or?
he's always went to the same outfitter.
Okay.
I've been there now 4 times. Last year was the last time I was there, and last year I didn't get a moose. Didn't even see one. Well, I did see a cow, and I could have got a shot at it, but I only had a bull tag last year. And a lot of the combination was the weather was terrible that week, and most outfitters or guys, ones around, they'll tell you the thing that will hurt you more than anything sometimes is the weather. And
that's a fact.
yeah, and another guy from Quebec, him and his brother, they get their moose every year. He's quite a hunter, and he never seen one the whole week. Now I did see a bull about 680 yards away, and there's no way to try for that.
Gary, do they offer a combo tag like here in Nova Scotia or Cape Breton, where it's bull, cow, or calf, or is it strictly bull only if that's the tag, or cow only, or calf only, or how's that? You can't get a combination tag, I guess.
Yeah, you can. What you can do is you can get usually if you go with a buddy, one person gets the either sex, so you can shoot a bull or a cow.
Okay.
The other guy will get if you go together. The other guy will get a bull only, but you can shoot a calf with that.
Okay.
Yeah, you can. Now we wouldn't, and I had a bull only tag. If I'd seen a calf, I wouldn't have shot it. But the other guys, there's 2 or 3 old guys. No, I'm old, I guess, but they were older than me, and they couldn't get around very well, and they were given an either sex tag, and they were lucky enough to. Actually, they both saw. No, one guy saw a bull 29 yards away and got it, and the other guy got the cow. But yeah, no, I hunted hard, and it was just a bad week, and it's the way it goes. And
one of them situations where it's a crapshoot with the dice, right? With the weather, obviously.
Yeah, no, that's that first year. That's my cow, and that was a huge cow. That we got that. I got of that cow. I got actually. I thought, and I've never had an experience like this before. We were only 45 minutes into our hunt, and we were heading. There was only the 2 of us, my buddy and I. Third week in October, and some guys from the States that canceled. So there's the owner and the guide. And so the 4 of us were heading down this road. We were 45 minutes away, and we looked down, and the guide looked over down through this into a valley in a bog, and he saw a big cow, and it was this cow. And so anyways, they stopped. We had a couple of bikes. They stopped them, and they ranged it, and it was 415 yards.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but they said, my buddy, do you want to try it? And he said, I don't think. And then he said, "What about you?" And I said, "Well, what's the odds we're going to see how many more moose? This is amazing. 45 minutes." He said, "You know what? This may be the only moose you see. No guarantees."
Mhm.
So I said to my buddy who had a 2 weeks before he went over, we were at the Jador rifle range, and he's got a nice Seiko, a Sako or whatever, 7mm Remington mag, beautiful, nice optics on it and everything else. And I tried it out over there. And I said, "Ray, I said, if I can borrow your rifle, I'll take a poke at it." And he said, "Sure." So I just rested on the bike, and I pulled the trigger, and right away they both yelled, the guide and them, "Give it to her again." And I went to shoot again, and I'm so used to my 300 lever action, I'm trying to throw another ship. It's a bolt action. And then by the time I finally get another one up, he said, "She's going on her hind," and she went right back on her hind and went down. And I said, "How are we going to get that?" Because it's just a steep grade going down. And he said, "We'll get it." And give these guys credit over there. We went back, had to go back to the camp and get an Argo, and I think he used a chainsaw for a bit of it and beat a trail down all around it to the bog till he got to it, and got it out. But that was my first moose, and it was a lucky shot. I figured east and west I was good,
Mhm.
right and left. I'm pretty sure I was good there. North and south elevation, I said, he told me it's 415, so I took a guess at where it should be after being sighted in for 100.
Mhm.
But the grade was bad too, and I never took that into consideration. And it actually, when we couldn't find the name Ray, my buddy found where it hit. It went right through the heart.
Oh,
So
wow.
it was very lucky shot because it was, I guessed that where it should be at 400 yards, but I didn't even take the elevation into account or anything. So it was a lucky shot, and it's nice. It's a huge moose.
Yeah, really lucky there with that one. Uh, let's see. I think we're getting close to the end of the photos here. Actually, that was the last photo I believe, Gary. So I'll just spin through them here quickly.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it's
But as
you
you can tell, I'm addicted to moose hunting. I mean, I like deer hunting too. I love it, but I'm addicted to moose hunting. I just love it.
you know what? I would take moose any day over deer than over deer.
Yeah.
Because the deer is great, but you get that aftertaste. I find with the fat and that on the deer, and it's not so much the gamey taste. It's just that filmy when you eat it residue, I guess, from the fat, deer fat. That I'll eat it, but that's my thing. Moose, I'd sooner moose. It's easier to do a lot more with sausage making and jerky
Yeah.
making with moose than anything else. It's one of them things where if you like that type of game meat, well then you're hooked on it, right? And the hunting, nothing beats a moose hunt, Gary, as you said.
Well, I enjoy the hiking and the as long as I'm still able to go the way I can, I want to keep doing it. And like I say, it's better now because my son's working. He's doing engineering work with a company. Actually, they're up in Greenwood all this week, but so it's gone are the trying to get him through college and cars and everything else. So I'm not a smoker and I don't really drink. So I mean, money goes into the Save the Moose Fund.
You may as well put it where you enjoy spending it and enjoy what you're doing, obviously. Uh,
Yeah.
so with that, Gary, is there anything else you got there you want to close out with for final remarks or anything like that?
No, not really. I appreciate that you asked me to do this. I'm just an ordinary hunter. That I guess the thing I got going for me now is that I'm retired, so I can do a lot more than what I was able to do before. I can get out, scout a lot. I'm out in the woods all the time, doing whatever I can. I just think that we just need to somehow, if we as hunters or outdoors people, whether it's fishing, hunting, that if we have these differences, we've got to somehow, and I don't have the answer, find a way to come together to solve some of the differences. and because not that we shouldn't have differences, but maybe somewhere along the way meet somewhere in the middle. And for me, like I say, I'm not, you know, um, my 3 words now is it doesn't matter, and that's what I take with me everywhere I go, because it really doesn't.
That's
No
true.
matter what it is in life, it doesn't matter. So, anyways, thanks, Jeff. I hope I was able to help a little bit on the Muzzy. Like I say, I'm not. You've got people like this BJ Nicholson, who's a super expert as far as the ammo part of it goes,
Mhm.
and so you got people who can really answer a lot of questions when it comes to that type of hunting.
And again, anybody like I asked you on, it, I've I've known what you've done before in regards to muzzle loaders and firearms committee stuff for other organizations and that. And to me, you were very well uh, versed on a lot of it, Gary. And that was the reasoning behind asking you to come on the show and discuss the muzzle loader aspect. And you don't have to be a big name person, obviously, to come on the podcast. It's grassroots, obviously, and it started grassroots, and we do have some big names, obviously,
Yeah,
Gary, coming up down the road here, and I will be announcing that further down in the coming weeks, I guess, and what big names are going to appear on the show. We've got one there that has committed for a half hour of their time. I won't say if it's a she or a he, obviously, but it's huge, and we can't wait to get them on the show and have a few discussions. Uh, with that, I believe later on this week, I should have Amanda Mayhew on discussing her work in the outdoors and that, and mentoring women and youth of all ages. So it's like I said, it started with grassroots, and it's been slowly growing to the point where we've been getting more and more big names that are willing to come on and have a discussion about a number of hunting topics. And for that, I appreciate it, and as do our viewers, obviously. But but I'm the type of guy I don't forget where I came from, and you got to start small in order to go big.
yeah,
If any insight that you've provided tonight has the, the effect on mentoring somebody of any age to take up the sport, well, you know what? Kudos, because they say, geez, I can do what Gary did, or I can do what Jeff did, or I can do what uh, Amanda Mayhew or Jim Shockey are doing down the road. I may be able to have a TV show. Who am I, or who is anybody to say no, you can't, right? So if somebody has the drive to do it, kudos to them to make it happen, and it just shows with having grassroots people there that enjoy the outdoors on, because many people then can see it and say, hey, I can do what they're doing. So with that, Gary, I appreciate you being on Coast to Coast Outdoors, episode 9. Uh, for episode 10, not a, I don't have it nailed down yet who's going to be on that one, but stay tuned for future updates. And with that, again, Gary, I appreciate you being on the show, and I'm just going to roll the outro here, and I will. I'll just put you on hold here for a bit, and once I end the broadcast, I'll have a quick chat with you if that's okay.
okay, Jeff. Thank you.
Thank you. So, folks, once again, we had Gary Geddes on talking about muzzle loaders and what takes place in Nova Scotia with muzzle loaders. Obviously, again, Coast to Coast Outdoors isn't just tailored to Nova Scotia. It just so happens that a lot of people so far have come from Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, Newfoundland. In the next future episodes, we're hoping to have somebody from Saskatchewan and Manitoba and British Columbia and Alberta as well. And tell us about what happens in your area. If you have a talent there in the outdoors, an outdoor business, and you want to try to get promoted there to draw some business, Coast to Coast Outdoors, right across the board. we're willing to hear from you. If we have any knowledgeable people there from Quebec that are willing to come on, that seems to be a hard spot to locate anybody. But again, you don't have to just be an outdoor hunter. You could be an outdoors group as well. So feel free, reach out, shoot us a message there on Facebook, and we will do our best to accommodate. Uh, Again, with that, I appreciate everybody's time this evening, and this is the end of episode 9. Enjoy your evening, folks.